Okay, we are live. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Talkin Investing. Welcome to a brutal day, a brutal 3 days. Is it the end of the world as we know it, George? Oh, sorry. Is this the best buying opportunity in the history of the stock market? Question mark. So we're going to talk about, we got jobs reports. We got some news from some, I'm still calling them Bitcoin miners, but data centers, whatever you want. We got three things happen. We got the job reports. There was a company that announced earnings yesterday, and that's what, to me, that explains 100% of today. It's another monumental overreaction. I'm going to explain to you what it is, where I think we're going from here. Are we at the bottom? We don't know. We are at a point of critical support. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to see what you guys think. And I'm going to let you know what I think, and George is going to let you know what he thinks. What do you think, George? Hold on. It's saying no George audio. Hold on. Give me a second. I might be able to fix that. I don't think they can hear you. I'm trying to fix it. Hello. Hey now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm having a minor technical difficulty. Some people might say, come on now. Give me a second. It's not showing up, and I'm doing my couple of things, but I know I got a couple more. George is checking his mic, but I know you guys can't hear it because it's not showing up over here. This is riveting, isn't it? All right, I'm going to have to get tech support. Everybody hold that thought. Smash the like button for tech support. I can't figure out how to get this working. I don't know what's wrong with me. You know, I know what I'm supposed to do. It's just not doing it. Hold on. Try now. Nothing. This thing literally says George's volume, but it didn't do what I wanted to do. All right, give me 30 seconds. This is a fiasco. We apologize. We'll put one of those things up, like experiencing technical difficulties. I'll be right back. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back. Enter George. Testing.
Hey,
1, 2, 3.
Talk? 1, 2, 3 testing.
Tech support strikes again. Tech support does it again.
Yes, tech support. Did you see that? I think Bitcoin will bottom next week, Tom. That's my call.
All right, let's get a few things out of the way here. Number one, I'm not a boomer. So everybody out there who's calling me a boomer right now because I couldn't fix the volume, I'm not a boomer. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Welcome, George. You were silenced. I couldn't fix it.
It's okay.
Why don't you take it from the top and tell people what you're thinking?
No, I was just saying that I think there's a lot of great opportunities right now. If you don't believe in what's happening, then you should get out and you should run for the hills. If you believe what's happening, I mean, think about this. The market goes down because of good jobs reports.
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
It's
I know why
outrageous.
it's crazy, right? I mean, we get there, and then Bitcoin gets obviously liquidated because everybody's probably going to jump into this crazy IPO. And that's next week, right, Todd?
That is next week. This is a little bit of, it's not the perfect storm. That's an exaggeration, but this is just there's a lot of variables, a lot of factors, a lot of new stuff, and it's all coming together at one time, and it's creating an illusion, the very illusion they want us to believe, in my opinion. So I'm gonna explain more. I know that was cryptic, but I'm going to explain. There's 3 or 4 things going on. All is not as it seems. We are getting tricked, or they are attempting to trick us again, in my very strong opinion. And I'm going to lay out that case. And I bought, by the way, I bought today. And I've been waiting. I've been waiting for this for a long time. And today was my day. Now, I didn't do everything. I left some powder so that if we keep going down, I can do this again. But this was an across-the-board wipeout today. The market was down dramatically. Pretty much every sector was down, and risk-on stuff, small-cap stuff was down. I mean, I probably had 20 stocks in my portfolio down double digits today, and I see Sour Mountain Gaming calling me a boomer. You know I'm not a boomer. Not that there's anything wrong with all my brothers and sisters are boomers. And some of them are wonderful people.
That's really funny.
ABTC is struggling. Yes, I'm just reading in the comments.
Dude, that's gonna be a kill move, by the way.
Yeah, it's the pure play. So of course Bitcoin's getting decimated, and so they're getting decimated. This is not a surprise. It's awful if you own the stock, but it can be no surprise. What was a surprise is, and it's not a surprise because I'm going to go through why, but you've got Marathon down double digits, Riot down double digits, IREN, CIFR, TerraWolf pulled back. It was down double digits most of the day. BitDR double digits, Hut double digits, Keel double digits, Hive double digits. I mean, these stocks were down drastically. Some of them were creeping towards down 20% at one point intraday. We did rally for the last hour, but these stocks got wrecked. Now, we have been talking for weeks and weeks, and we will look at the charts. These stocks have been overbought just from a technical standpoint. And while maybe that should mean something or it shouldn't mean something, they were wildly overbought. A pullback's been coming. That's why I've had that. I have been selling little bits to just save money on the sidelines for this day, because this day has been coming for quite some time, and there's no telling how long it can run. If this week had been another up week, I would have just sold some more and put some more money on the sidelines. But you know what? Pretty early in the week, it became obvious that this was going the wrong way, and it just kept getting worse, and the market was just looking for a catalyst. They got one and they ran with it. So a lot of this move down, I believe, in these stocks has happened all together here at once in the last 3 days, particularly today. So we'll see. Is this a trend reversal? Are the AI energy stocks out of favor and the money's rotated out? I'm going to argue why I think that is not true. This is a brief pause and a long overdue pullback, in my opinion.
And I'll admit it. Tom, when will you admit the 4-year cycle is alive and well? BTC bottom target is 42 to 47.
I'll tell you when I will admit it. And I will say, all of this week is setting up, just there's a lot of compelling, what people are arguing. If I could just regroup for a moment, I want to articulate what people are arguing when they say the 4-year cycle, because I will give you 15 reasons why the 4-year cycle's already broken. This cycle is different in almost every way. But what they are looking at is, with all of that said, Bitcoin peaked at a certain time that was within the window of time that Bitcoin usually peaks during the 4-year cycle. And somewhere around this October would be the point at where Bitcoin usually bottoms within the 4-year cycle. So if that happens, if we peaked right within the time frame of when we have peaked in the past 4-year cycles, and if we bottom right within the time frame when we bottom in the past 4-year cycles, then it's hard to argue that we're not still in the 4-year cycle. Even though this cycle, in almost every way, just does not resemble previous cycles at all. And I don't think we're going to get that washout to the bottom. Am I going to be shocked if it happens? I mean, this is Bitcoin. I think we're all, if anybody's here is shocked by anything, then you're probably in the wrong place. But I still don't, as hard as it is to believe, I still do not believe. So I think we're gonna, October, time flies, we're gonna blink and it's gonna be October, but I don't think it's gonna take that long. I think that this is what George said at the beginning of this year. This is gonna be 2 years. First half and the second half. The first half's gonna stink. The second half's gonna be good.
First half.
Right. We are still in the first half of the year. They're not done. And they're overblowing these catalysts as if they're some catastrophic event. So we're going to go through them one at a time. Pardon my voice. I've been sick for a week, but hopefully it's not agitating to anybody. I'm doing my best to get through it. Gambit Beer said, I'm so happy to hear Tom is selling a little. Market top indicator, question mark? If it is, it would be the first time. So, no, I've been selling for weeks and weeks, and it's not a mass exodus. I wanted some amount of everybody here knows we're on our 100th buy the dip. At some point, you just don't have any money. So unless you take some profits, there's just no money to buy the dip. So that's what I did. I think it's working out for me. But we'll see. Time will tell. I did buy a lot today inside and outside of this sector because it wasn't just AI. It wasn't just the energy stocks. It wasn't just the chip stocks. It was most things. So I was indeed presented with a lot of opportunities today, and I took a lot of them. We'll see if they pay off. If they don't, then I'm dollar cost averaging. If we go down another leg, then I'm going to have to do this again. Sourmelon Gaming said the mining was such an overhyped and absolutely disastrous business. Thank God for AI. So I just want to talk about that for a minute because there's some stuff in there. The bottom line is the stocks that those of you who have been here for years and years with me, and I see a lot of people in the chat that are longtime subscribers, a lot of people that are 3 or 4 year members to the channel. So thanks to all of you guys. And you guys know that this was a list of Bitcoin miners for the first 4 years we did this channel. The reality is that is not what this is anymore. While several of these companies still participate in Bitcoin mining, some of them are phasing out. Some of them have phased out of Bitcoin mining already. These are data center AI plays at this point for the most part. The biggest distinguishing factor is they are at various stages of entering this cycle. number one, step one, you got to announce that you're making the shift. There were some companies very, very late to even announcing it, right? And I'll just call them by name. CleanSpark, Marathon, they were very late to the game announcing that they were going to get into AI. And and so that's just phase one, acknowledging, hey, we're in the game. Phase two, you have to increase your energy pipeline. You have to build it out. You have to get contracts for your data centers. And a lot of these, a lot of times when you get a contract, look at Core Scientific. They got a contract like 3 years ago. They were the first mover in this space of the stocks that we look at. They were, for years, quietly, they were mining by far more Bitcoin than anybody, but at the same time, they were setting themselves up, and they got that big CoreWeave contract for billions of dollars. And all of a sudden, it became obvious there's something else here with these data centers that may generate substantially more money at a substantially better profit margin with substantially less risk and volatility. So one by one, all these companies have joined the ranks. So there's a lot of different catalysts ahead, depending at what stage these companies are at in that cycle. So, like I said, Core Scientific was the earliest. IREN was early. TeraWulf was early. IREN's been talking about building data centers for years and years. And they have big contracts with big partners. That's the other thing. When you get a Microsoft or a Google or an NVIDIA to team up with you, that's like that's like one of those, you're on a social media site and you get a check mark. That's like validation. Now all of a sudden nobody's afraid to go do business with you because you know why? Because Google's doing business with you. So if they're okay with it, I'm okay with it is the mentality. So these guys are in that process. They've been on a tear. We're going to look at May. These stocks went absolutely ballistic. So even with the last 3 days being a train wreck, none of these stocks are anywhere near where they were just last month. A lot of these go back. This is one of the things that I look at to try to understand, do I need to panic? Do I need to buy? Do I need to sell? Do I need to just chill out? I try to put it in terms of, well, this sell-off puts me all the way back to 3 days ago. Okay, that might feel, maybe that's down 20%, and that might feel horrendous. But that's where after years of investing in these, that's where my portfolio was at 3 days ago. Is it time to panic right now because I'm where I was 3 days ago? No. All right, now we had an even worse day. Now my portfolio is where it was 6 days ago. Okay, to me, still not time to panic unless there's fundamentals underneath that are changing and you can point to them and say, here's a reason. I want to talk about the reason all of this happened. And the jobs report was a reason, but it's not the reason. There was a catalyst, and there's going to be the reverse of this catalyst time after time after time, which means to me, this was a massive buying opportunity. So I'm going to jump ahead if that's all right, George. How's our poll going?
We ended the first one, went into a round robin. I wanted to see what's the best opportunity out there for people, what our members think, and what other people think too.
So the first poll, 3/4 said no more pain coming for Bitcoin.
No, more pain coming.
Yeah. My problem. No, comma, more pain to come.
Right.
So the absolute reverse. Pardon me. 3/4 of the people think, yes, there is more pain to come. That makes a lot more sense to me. That lines up with where the fear and greed index is. There's a lot of things pointing to maximum fear right now, which to me is good. Sourmilk Gaming said, not sure I agree, Tom. My last month just basically got wiped out. It's everybody's portfolio is different. So if you're back to where you were a month ago, that's frustrating. But remember, for those that have been doing this a long time, that's not a market meltdown. That's not a crash. You're back to where you were 1 month ago. So from the beginning of time to 1 month ago, you got to a certain place. And now if you think of it as a chart, it's retesting that point of support from where you were a month ago. Unless you've sold everything and took it at a loss, I think these will run right back up. Do I wish they went up in a straight line? I wouldn't waste a wish. I want to show you guys why these things are doing what they're doing. Let me get to here. So this is Keel. And I'm going to go through 3 or 4 real quick. I don't want to, crush this, but you guys are going to get the idea quickly. Look at the daily RSI. Okay? This is the simplest indicator to look at, and it's not precise. It can run for longer than you think, but it's telling you something that ultimately will happen. When you see, so the typical setup on a daily RSI is you've got a line here at 70. That's considered overbought. I'm going to get a little more detailed than that. You got a line here down at 30. That's considered oversold, meaning this stock has gone down as, typically as far as it's going to go down, and the buying pressure is going to start outweighing the selling pressure. And the reverse at the top. This means, at 70, you're starting to get top heavy. This got up to 82, almost 83. But if you look, they shade it right in for you. This was all since May 21st. This has been overbought. So that's weeks overbought. Right now, if you just sell it the second it gets to overbought, that was back, in this area. So I look at the volatile stocks like these, cryptocurrency, all the high volatility, higher risk stocks. I usually use 75 or 80 for that top number. Once we start hitting 80, it's now you are really topping out your gambling, right? Once this got up to 80, that was this day. So if you sold at 80, you'd be great. And then you buy back later. Now, I don't do that. I just average in and out. I did take some profits, right? As we were in this, I took some profits along the way. And so I had a little money today to buy in on the pullback. But there can be no surprise. Anybody surprised that Keel went down? This spent 2 weeks massively overbought. But it's not alone. Look at basically here. Here's Riot. Riot got up to 75. So Marathon got up to 70, and that, and Marathon is not a momentum stock. Like I said, Cleanspark and Marathon got in this really late. Marathon was really the last one in. They haven't really been showing us that they get up into these 80s type numbers. IREN I want to talk about later. I think this is the buy out of everything right now. The market has reacted totally irrationally to this. I think there's some opportunity in that. CIFR,
43% of the people agree with you, Tom.
There we go. That's in first place for now. So Wolf, just short of 70. CIFR, 70. BitDR, around 75. Hut, around 78. We looked at Bitfarms around 82 or 83. Hive got up to over 80. So every single one of these stocks was overbought for weeks. This pullback was coming. The question is, what is the length and the depth of the pullback? Here's Hive. This is this is an obvious line of support. We got there today and it held. Does that mean it's going to hold forever? Not necessarily, but look how quickly this reset. These things don't need, so if we're in a bull market and times are good, and I know a lot of people would argue we're not, you know, that's a horrible line. This is 50, right? This can bounce off of 50 and be enough of a reset for the next leg up when things are going well. Now, while Bitcoin may be in a crypto winter, and we can argue about that later, these data center stocks are in the AI trade, and they are on fire. So they're going to get to these overbought territories. But you do have to be careful because it inevitably, let me go to use an extreme example. Here's Micron. Right? Micron, for those of you who watch the channel, you know that I bought into Micron at $365. Not years ago. And by the way, it was over $1,000 a couple of days ago. It was almost at $1,100. This was back in April, 2 months ago. I really didn't get a chance to dollar cost average into this. I bought my first amount and then, you know, up in a straight line. By the time it pulled back to, I was still up 100%. That's not really a pullback. But look what was going on here. Right before I bought it, this had spent weeks overbought. This got up to 86 on the daily RSI. So this was a clear top. But like I was saying, in a bull market, this does not have to reset all the way down to 30. This only reset down to 60. And then boom, another massive, here, from this bottom up to the top, that's another 66% run up in a couple of weeks. This is an extreme example, but this is how stocks behave that are in favor, that are momentum stocks. And this is why a lot of times traders play these momentum stocks, because they know it doesn't matter that it's already up 800%. It's going to keep going up. Now, you do get your resets, right? We got one here. Really, I would have liked to bought here, but I didn't. We're getting another one right here. I did buy something. I sort of bought MU today, and I'll show you guys what I mean by that. Just find it. So today I opened a position in, this is an ETF DRAM. Ticker DRAM, not financial advice. I am by no means recommending this. This thing has rallied since its inception dramatically. You can see it's fairly new, but I want to show you what this is. Just a second to get. Okay, Roundtree Hill Memory ETF. If I go to holdings, you'll see, and I don't know if they've rebalanced this, but SK Hynix, there's 3 companies in the world that do what Micron does. So according to this chart, and I think this might be out of date, about 5% of this fund is Micron. 2 biggest holdings are the 2 companies that do the same thing that Micron does, SK Hynix and Samsung. That's it. That's the list. Being in America, and I know a lot of you are all places around the world, we have a heavy Canadian audience. We have a heavy audience from Great Britain and other parts of the EU. Wherever you are, welcome from anywhere around the world, and drop in the chat where you are visiting us from. For me, it's very difficult to buy SK Hynix and even Samsung. They are not traded on, you know, the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ. But this ETF is. So SK Hynix and Samsung, which are Micron's direct competitors, that makes up 40% of this fund. So this stock or this fund, let me go get the chart again. Right, I have been wanting to get access to those other companies. I do have a position in Micron. It's not as much as I'd like, but I do have a position. It's up monumentally. I'd like a position in those other stocks because basically with DRAM, you own 100% of that. And, you know, this had run up in the short time it's existed since April 6th. This was up 141%. But this was a nice pullback. You know, that's a 20% pullback. It might continue to pull back. If it does, I would not mind dollar cost averaging into this 2 or 3 more times if for some reason we continue to get a pullback. But if we don't, then I got a piece of this today, and so be it. But this goes to show you how all of the chip stocks got wrecked. All of the AI stocks got wrecked. And now I'm going to go to where I was going in the first place. There was one reason for that, and to me, it was a ridiculous reason. Broadcom. Okay. Let me go to... Here's the list of the biggest companies in the world. You're going to see Broadcom here at number 7. This is an AI play straight up. This has gone ballistic. So they had earnings yesterday. They beat on revenue. They beat on the top line. They beat on income. They beat on the bottom line. They reaffirmed their forecast. That is no good in this environment. So even though it's exactly what they said they were going to do, even though it's exactly what the market was expecting, the whisper number for the forecast, you expect these companies to be growing faster than they're talking about. So standard issue for these tech companies, these AI companies, this handful of the AMDs, the NVIDIAs, the Microns, the Broadcoms, even the Taiwanese Semiconductor, you know, most of this list, most of these top companies, right now, the market has priced in that when they announce earnings, they're going to beat on revenue, they're going to beat on income, and they're going to raise their forecast. If they don't do check, if they don't go 3 for 3 on that, their stock goes anywhere from down 1% to Broadcom got taken out yesterday, and it did so again today. And it was a reason to say, maybe this whole AI thing's over. We got to sell, dump, take profits, dump everything chip related, dump everything AI. And that's what got this market cascading down. Then we got the jobs report. That was insult to injury. And the two of those things caused pretty much a train wreck today. But it was Broadcom merely just saying, hey, we made more money than you guys thought we would. We sold more than you thought we would sold. And we're just going to reaffirm that, you know, this is what next quarter's numbers are going to be. And the market went, oh, is not better? That's a disaster. Crash. And when I say crash, I mean, remember, this is a multi-trillion-dollar company. So here, Broadcom sell-off just entered mega cap history. Broadcom closed down 12.6% Thursday, erasing $280 billion of market value, putting it among the biggest single stock wipeouts of the mega cap era. And, excuse me, guys. So I just want to show you how crazy this is. So they go on to show a chart. I think I might have this somewhere else zoomed in a little bit. I don't know where it is. Okay, so, well, maybe I'll just try and zoom in right here. This is the top 10 biggest losses of market cap in a single day in the history of the stock market. 6 of these 10 are NVIDIA. Now, it's worth noting, if you look at the 10 biggest gains in market cap, you're probably going to see the same thing. The only other companies on this list, so NVIDIA, they lost $593 billion of market cap on January 27th, 2025. Microsoft is in second place. Apple's in third place. What do Microsoft and Apple have in common? For 15... Yeah, for...
Sorry.
That's all right. For 15 years, these were trading places as the largest company in the world until NVIDIA overtook them both. And then down here in 10th place, you have Meta. So, formerly Facebook. Those are the only other companies on the list. And then right here in 4th place, which was yesterday, is Avgo. They lost $280 billion. Avgo is Broadcom. So here's what I find ridiculous about this. As a result of Avgo reaffirming earnings, they had the 4th worst day in the history of the stock market. Well, guess what? Let me find it. I literally just asked because I knew the answer, and it actually ended up a little worse than this. There was still a few minutes left in the day. How much market cap did NVIDIA lose today? Today. $304 billion. That's today. And like I said, that actually got a little bit worse. It was like $325 billion. So Broadcom yesterday just had the 4th worst day any stock's ever had in the history of the stock market, and NVIDIA beat it today. So that's how ridiculous this sell-off is, in my opinion. Right? Now, 2 of the top 5 days are yesterday and today. There's no sense in that. And that knocks Meta off the list, and now 7 of the 10 worst days in history are NVIDIA, but it's just because their market cap is huge. That's why Microsoft is on the list. That's why Apple is on the list. We talked about these days on this channel. We mentioned these. This was April 3rd, 2025 and January 29th, 2026. So my point is, this was the excuse everybody was looking for to take profits on a bunch of companies that were way overbought from a technical standpoint, that had run up, that just seemed like they were going to run up in a straight line forever. So today was the day. But here's the thing. You're going to get Micron's earnings. And it would be my guess, right? Because I don't see their financial statements until they put them out. June 24th, couple of weeks from now, Micron. I would be willing to bet, and this is the hottest stock currently in the stock market. There's 3 or 4 others that have taken their turn. It's Micron right now. Now, Micron did get wrecked today, down 13%. This was $1,100 midday yesterday. It's $864 today. So this got wiped out. But again, it was $80 13 months ago. $80. So it's up over 1,000% after this wipeout. They are going to announce earnings. They're going to beat on revenue. They're going to beat on income. And they're going to raise their forecast. That's my guess, right? I don't know the future, but I think the probability is ultra high that they go 3 for 3. Now, all of a sudden, everything's all going to be okay again. Right now, everything's the end of the world because Broadcom merely just reaffirmed their forward growth. we've got a lot more, right? Most companies, right? The same thing happened to NVIDIA. They beat on the top line. They beat on the bottom line, right? They made more revenue than anybody expected. They made more net income than anybody expected. And they had very modest change in their forecast, and they were down 1%. Now, they didn't get whacked that day. Ironically, they got whacked this day because of what Broadcom did. So, on the back of all that, I will tell you guys, I bought NVIDIA today. Because it had the fourth worst day any company's ever had in the history of the stock market by market cap. Now, as a percentage, it was only down 6%. So I understand. It's by no means the fourth worst day of any stock. But by that measure, by market cap, this was the fourth worst day of any stock. And if you look at the 5-day, if you look at the peak, they were up at 232. Well, let's go to the real. Right. It's not like this is the biggest move on earth, but that's a 13% pullback for NVIDIA. Now, I missed the first $5 trillion on this stock. Having said that, it was at $5.7 trillion. And now if you go look, after today, it's at $4.96 trillion. I think this will be the first $6 trillion, the first $7 trillion. Apple did pull back into second place. Google was in second place for a while up until today. And you can see these three are in the 4 billions. And then Microsoft drops to 3.0 billion. I own Microsoft. I do think there's a massive amount of upside to Microsoft. This got sold off as if it was some generic software company. So I think there's a lot of upside there. But for me today, I bought DRAM, I bought NVIDIA. Those are a couple of the things that I bought because I think this chip thing, we are in my opinion, we're in very early days on the AI infrastructure. And for as good as there is room left in the chips, the only thing better than that is the energy companies, which is the list of stocks that we follow. They all got decimated today. So if you are not in those, or if you're just building out positions in those, a lot of people might have taken an opportunity to jump into those today. Although, unfortunately, what retail tends to do on days like today is they are the panic, and they cause these massive downturns.
Talking about me again, Tom?
It's not necessarily our group. I understand that we have a little bit more sophisticated investors that usually watch on this channel. So, but you guys know what retail usually does. They buy high and sell low, and they panic.
Listen to this. I'm not bullish on 2026. Sorry to say. There's just so many things that are cooking for disaster. Clarity delay, no rate cuts, IPO, cause up liquidity, midterms, Iran war, etc. You see, this is almost the end. So does that mean 6 months ends at the end of this month?
That's right. That'd be the first half of the year.
We're at the end of what I call hell for this year.
And you called that in December.
Yeah, and it changes, I believe, come July 1st. Actually, it's actually the 4th, but
there's a lot of things going on in both directions. And Sour Mountain Gaming, you're not wrong about any of the items on that list. They're all real. Or at least they're today's perception. But this is what they do. They shape our perception and they tell us what to focus on. Whether if they want us to be exuberant, then, they give us those headlines. If they want us to be terrified, they give us these headlines. In the meantime, here's the big picture. We are super early on AI. 90% of the data centers that are needed in the next 5 years do not exist right now. The companies that need data center space can't get any because there isn't any. We have a list of companies that, because they were Bitcoin miners, and if you want to say it was pure luck, whatever you want to say, I will tell you, with IREN, it was not pure luck. IREN has been pounding the table for years. They are a data center company. They happen to mine Bitcoin because that's the most efficient use of their data centers for the last several years. But as soon as AI took over, they ditched that. They went from 50 exahash, being one of the biggest Bitcoin miners in the world, to just switching to AI. And now they have partners like Google and NVIDIA, the biggest companies in the world. So, and this stock's getting beaten down like this is the only stock. I'm going to go back and show you. Remember, all those other companies we looked at were somewhere between 70 and 85 on the daily RSI. IREN, which just keeps announcing good news, right? They never even got to 70, and they've been pulling back on good news. There was a day where they were up huge in pre-market, and they ended the day red. And they were up huge because they announced, let me find it. IREN announces first Australian data center campus, 800 megawatts they are adding to their backlog. Today announced the signing of a transmission connection agreement to support a planned 800 megawatt data center campus in Bundy, South Australia. So the thing is, yeah, this is going to take a couple of years before there's any computers plugged in here, but they are locking down power agreements, and that's what this is all about. People are desperate for power agreements. And our companies have a big, I'm calling them our companies. A lot of the people that watch this channel are invested, but I'll tell you the list of companies I'm talking about. You know, the RIOT, CleanSpark, IREN, CIFR, TerraWolf, HUT, Keel. Keel has abandoned Bitcoin. Keel was Bitfarms. They've literally said, we're done Bitcoin mining. That's it. We're winding it down by the end of 2027, and I'm sure long before then, we'll have 0 machines mining Bitcoin. We are straight AI. IREN's pretty...
to think of, I got 10 companies, and I just can't remember. Are there more that should be on the round robin?
Let's see. Who have you gotten so far? Have you just done the first one?
I've done 2 already, and then I got Core and Cypress, because those are the only 2 I missed. But I can't think of 2
IREN,
more.
CleanSpark, Keel, Marathon. I'm just taking a look. Hive, Riot, Wolf, Hut. Did you get CIFR?
Yeah, I got it on this poll.
Oh, you got it on this poll? BitDR?
Yeah, I got Chords. What is it?
BitDR, BTDR?
Yeah, that was in there, yeah.
Oh, all right. Course? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 11 on our list, and ABTC is 12.
I missed BitDR.
Oh, okay. BitDR.
So that's 11. Perfect. Doing it. Sorry, guys.
Now, I know there's a couple other companies out there that are pretty much pure play data centers as well. I may add those to the list. We haven't been tracking them for years and years, but they are in our space. Some of them are actually bigger than a lot of these companies. So let me know if you guys are interested in looking. There's like 2 or 3 other companies worth adding to this list. We deleted a lot of companies off the list because they fell behind. These companies that we're looking at are all multi-billion-dollar companies. There was 7 or 8 of these companies that turned into microcap and nano-cap stocks, 10 million, 100 billion dollar type market caps, and those just don't compare with the, some of these companies are 10 or 20 billion dollar market caps now. Some of the ones not on the list are even bigger than that. I see some people talking about 32K.
Oh.
You want to put up that other poll? Can you talk for a second, George? I just need to excuse myself for 1 second. I'll be right back.
I can talk for a long time, but I only talk about crypto nowadays. Looks like I was wrong. Looks like AI destroyed me. I'm not going to lie. Do me a favor and hit the like button. I think we're at 50. If you like this kind of content, please hit the like button. I've been out of it because I sold all my Bitcoin, and so I haven't really, and the other stocks that I picked, I don't really care. You know, they're gonna do what they're gonna do because I think in 5 years everything's gonna be fine. So I wasn't really making decisions day to day anymore because I just don't have time to. So I'm just letting everything ride. I was back to break even, and then my ABTC got wrecked. But you know, it's part of it.
Well,
but here's what's sad is the 10K challenge, we got up to 6,500, and now it's back down to like 4,400.
Well, the last 3 days here, Riot was one of our big positions, I think, in there,
No,
right?
CleanSpark. That's the CleanSpark Marathon. And that other one, you only have 3 companies now, and that other one you told me to buy.
If you go from the close on Monday to the close today, that's down 17%. And by the way, look at today's candle. It was down as much as 25 or 26%. So, and you'll notice it did hold this line of support. Some of these lines, now, whether they hold over the long term or not, we shall see. But I would say with CleanSpark, to me, again, this is 50, and I'm not good at drawing straight lines, but you can see we've been bouncing off of 50 and then having a run. We bounced off of 50, had a big run, and now we're bouncing off of 50 again. So I think it's possible this was the bottom today, and we could take the next leg up. I really do.
I can tell you one thing. If you would have asked me in 24 if I thought in June of 26 that the crypto market would be $2 trillion, I would have said you're nuts.
Yeah, crypto.
$2 trillion, Tom.
Crypto we are not in a good spot in the crypto universe right now. The altcoins are doing, a lot of them, even worse than Bitcoin. Bitcoin's obviously not doing well. Let's go back to the Bitcoin chart. And hang on. Doesn't look like it's updated. We'll see. I'm refreshing.
You are refreshing, Tom.
I gotta refresh because I don't think that was up to date. I don't know why. Yeah, see? It wasn't. Look at that. The stream. We're pumping. So we're at almost 62,000. So the question is, and I don't know if you did this poll or not, and I know we're doing this round robin. After the round robin, my question is, we did dip. This is the 15-minute chart. We dipped below $60,000 today. We did not, if I go to the 1 day, we did not do that back here. So on February 6th, what they're calling February 6th, that was where I live in the world. That actually happened on February 5th, late at night. We got down to $60,001.00. So there was a buy wall at 60,000. However, today, you can see we candle wicked below this. This is on the 1 day, and then this is on the 15-minute. You can see we were below this for an hour and a half. And then right back above it, right as the market closed, the U.S. equity markets, we got back above this line at 60,000. And we've had a little bit of a run up to 61,700. That's not nothing. In a couple of hours, we went from 59,000. We were up almost $3,000 in a couple hours. We've pulled back a little bit off of that. So, what is this going to do over the weekend? Are we going to hold 60,000 over the weekend? If we do, I have been saying all along, I did not think we were going to go retest 60. Having said that, every time that I said that, I did say I certainly would not be surprised. That is very typical behavior for Bitcoin. If you look at the one-day chart, we tested this perfectly. Things seem to be moving in that direction for weeks, so it certainly wasn't going to be a shocker if we went down and retested this. I will be surprised if this doesn't hold, and I think I'm in the minority. I think most people, we saw 75% of the people in the poll earlier thought that there was more pain ahead. Almost every article I read, almost every person on the news, whether it's on CNBC or Bloomberg or wherever you may get your news, or whether it's a YouTuber, here's the common numbers: 54,000, 48,000, 35,000, 32,000. I hear that. I almost without exception, even the most bullish people that I've seen are all calling for lower numbers than this. And it is just my sense, when everybody's saying the exact same thing, it almost never happens. So maybe this is the time it happens. And I'll be wrong. And if it is, I did leave myself room, and I will dollar cost in. I'm not afraid of this market. If it goes down for more from here, I will take it as a gift and a buying opportunity. This is how we started the stream. George was talking to me pre-stream that, this is very difficult times, but we're going to look back and say this was a gift. And I think it's going to stop at 60, but you know what? If it gets to 54, if it gets to 48, if 60 was a gift, those are even better. So you just got to try and manage and see if you keep a little powder on the sidelines. And if that happens, then you act accordingly. I can't, right? None of us definitively know exactly what's going to happen. So you have to have contingency plans. There was a monumental part of me that wanted to take every penny that I had on the sidelines today and just go in when we hit 60,000. And I'm going to show you a lot of the other things. It's not just these companies. Everything got destroyed. So let's just take a minute and go through some of the other sectors and industries that I'm investing in that just got wiped out. So this is one of my watch lists. It's a short one. And this is a mix of different things, but I call it my AI supply chain. USAR, that is rare earth materials, right? USA Rare Earth. So they were down 17% today. That's a train wreck. MP Materials, they are a U.S. rare earth material. These are mining companies, not Bitcoin mining, real world mining for rare earth materials. The United States has a monumental problem. A lack of rare earth materials, a lack of the ability to mine them, a lack of the ability to refine them. These companies are getting billions of dollars from the federal government to make sure that they are winners. So I'm not going to bet against that. So I actually have both of these positions, but they got rolled over today. MP down, rounds up to 10%, double digits. SMR, this is a company called New Scale Power. This is nuclear. There are a lot of nuclear stocks. You guys can list some in the chat. I know a lot of you guys know them, and I intend on diversifying and adding more nuclear stocks, because the thing is, there's 5 or 6 different type of companies inside of the nuclear space. In fact, the 5 or 6 that I'm looking at, none of them actually build nuclear power plants. But what they build what I do? That correct? No, that is incorrect. SMN. Sorry, I gotta go double check my stock ticker. MR, not even close. NuScale Power Corporation. I want to go down another little summary. Oh, they're at the top on this, actually. NuScale Power Corporation provides, and they use the term loosely, because they don't actually provide this to anybody. They are 2 or 3 years away from delivering their products. So understand, a lot of these nuclear companies that are getting big government grants, equity, preferred stock, convertible stock, loans, grants, etc., they're still years away. But what they're doing, NuScale offers power modules. NPM, NuScale Power Module, a light water nuclear reactor that can generate 77 megawatts of electricity. So we all have a picture in our head of a nuclear power plant, right? It's this enormous millions and tens of millions and probably 100 million yards of concrete built up to the sky. That's not what these companies, new companies, are doing. These are basically, I don't want to say portable, although some companies are making them actually portable, but they can go to where you are. This is 77 megawatts of electricity. You in the middle of the desert? Boom, 77 megawatts. So there's companies doing 77. There's another company doing 80. There's a company doing 100. There's a company doing 400 megawatt units. There's a bunch of these, but that's not it. There's other companies as well. There's companies that mine for the uranium. There's companies that refine and supply the uranium. There's all parts of the supply chain for nuclear. And I do, we can do a poll, George. What do you think? Is nuclear happening or not happening?
I think nuclear has to happen.
I am with the innovation, and this is what happens. And there'll be some of the, here's the thing, the not in my backyard argument, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, right? Everybody wants power. Everybody wants power plants and turn the lights on, but they don't want it in their backyard, right? So here's the thing with these. This doesn't have to be in anybody's backyard. You can build this wherever you want. And then you could build the data centers with them. So, right, you don't need to, this isn't to power a city, so it needs to be in the city. This is to power data centers. The amount of power that's coming dwarfs the amount of power that currently exists. So this is why I'm saying we are super early on this, and the power companies, for as much as they were down 10 or 15% today and got hammered today, everybody needs these companies, and they have, many of them, a multiple year head start on what is a multiple year pipeline. So, you could say, well, who cares? It's a commodity. Google will just, if they need these, they'll build their own. That's great. If they start today, they got to find a place. They got to buy a place. They got to get permission from the government. Then they got to get that from the federal government. Then they got to get permits from the local government. And then they got to have, trust me, I just did a little land transaction down here. We had to have 3 public hearings over the course of like 6 months to talk about we made one little change where we added an emergency entrance for a fire truck to get in. So I don't think anybody had any problem with that, but that took forever. So imagine a nuclear power plant or, a gigantic, these data centers, right? And unlike, nobody has any problem with wanting access for a fire truck, but guess what they do have a problem with? 100,000 gigantic, loud machines in a data center in their neighborhood. So,
Tom, what am I asking about nuclear power?
Is nuclear power going to
be streamlined?
Is nuclear power going to be a substantial source of new energy over the next 5 years? So in other words, I'll elaborate on that. If you take all the windmills on the face of this earth, they amount to a fairly insignificant amount of power. I think it would be very easy for nuclear, the amount of nuclear that goes online in the next 5 years, to dwarf all of the wind energy on the face of the earth. I don't think it'll even be close.
Nuclear power, new energy in the next 5 years, so that's going to be the primary source?
I'm saying it's going to jump wind, it's going to jump solar, it's going to be on par with hydro, which provides massive amounts of clean energy. And it's going to be it's going to be 100 years before anything jumps fossil fuels. So if that makes you sad, I'm sorry. It's not, that's not my decision. That's just how the world works. So, oil, natural gas, etc., those are the gigantic sources of power. But what comes next? We're looking for clean energy. So we know hydro. The advancements in hydro are massive, and our companies are some of the leaders in hydroelectricity. They were forced to be, because if you remember, for several years, we were ostracized. Bitcoin miners are bad. They're killing the earth. So in a twofold reaction, number one, to react to that narrative, which was killing these companies' stocks and their ability to raise money and their ability to conduct business. But number two, there's a lot of stranded hydro around the world that's highly efficient. And again, with a data center, you can put it wherever you want. With most other power, it's got to be, if you're trying to power a city and all of its businesses and all of its homes, the power needs to be in the city. This can be in the desert or in the frozen tundra or in, wherever the case may be. Now, with hydro, it's got to be near the source of hydro, but there's an awful lot of hydro, and I think nuclear could ultimately pass that and dwarf that. And 50 or 100 years from now, this could easily be the same main source of energy. And that's probably more like 100 years from now. But maybe you guys think I'm wrong. Maybe you think that this is, there is the other side to this argument. Nuclear energy scares people.
Bad.
It's scary.
I heard they can't have a meltdown anymore.
That they can't because it's not possible, or they can't because...
that it's not possible.
Well, it depends. And everybody's got to be smart. And this is the other thing, like this 77 megawatt generator isn't going to have a nuclear meltdown like a nuclear power plant would. They're very different organisms. There's massive amount of safety measures in place, but you know what? Mankind has made a couple of big mistakes, and we remember them, right? So, and they ended up being environmental disasters. Now, why somebody built a nuclear power plant on the edge of an ocean is beyond me. So it got wrecked. The other one, there have been three incidents over 50, 60 years. And that number's... Huh?
I said Fukushima.
Right. There's no reason for that. What you just said should be the case. That should never, and you know, it's hard to say never, but it really should never happen again. It's not like a nuclear power plant is a bomb on the brink of explosion. It takes extenuating circumstances, poor maintenance. I mean, there's redundancy after redundancy. So I think it's on the horizon. Everything takes time. My point on this, I own this stock. I know they're going to have no sales in 2026. They're going to have no sales in 2027. And they're going to have no sales in 2028. But what they should have are deals that they're writing. Because the technology's already there. And there's a lot of other companies like this. I don't know if anybody dropped any into the chat, but there are many nuclear companies that I think are worth looking at. And back to my original point was, this company was down 12.5% today. All the nuclear companies got wrecked today. Why? Here's Micron, down 13% today. AMD, down 10% today. These are two of the hottest stocks in the stock market. Down double digits today. Crypto got wrecked. XRP down 4%. Solana down 5.5%. Ethereum down 8.7%. SUI 6.5%. Chainlink 6%. Now, I play a lot of leveraged plays on these. I don't recommend them. I don't not recommend them, but leverage play is very different than a regular play. So please, if you're doing leverage plays, if you're getting involved in these, and these are only usually 2x leverage, but you would be surprised at how fast you can get wrecked on a 2x leverage if you're not expecting it. So do your own due diligence. Be careful if you get into any of these. BMNR, that is a company that is amassing Ethereum. I am not the biggest fan of Ethereum. I want to go to the Ethereum chart. Something's happening on the Ethereum chart. I didn't check, but I would be willing to bet it's the first time in the history of Ethereum. Let's find out right now. This is the Ethereum chart. Okay, so you can see my last line. I don't even think I put any lines under this. My last line of support was at $1,521. We got to $1,539 today. We almost exactly touched this. Look at the daily RSI. The daily RSI for Ethereum right now is 13.74. So I'm gonna do a chart. I can't imagine it's ever been that low. That is one of the lowest daily RSIs I've ever seen on anything. Remember, a regular stock is considered oversold at 30. So, have we ever touched this line? I'm going to go back. We got low here, but we didn't get to it. Why would it do that to me? So no, I'm still only in 2025. This is going to take just a second. So here, in August of 2024, we got down to 20. That's not 13. Zoom in so we can really see this.
So you think we hit the bottom, Tom, is what you're saying? You're calling it?
I think that Ethereum has hit the lowest RSI it's ever been at since the day it got invented today. I think. I'm checking that right now. It's going to take one more minute. So do I think we're at the bottom in Ethereum? Yes. I mean, this is years. I'm back in 2020. Back in March of 2020. We all remember March of 2020. Pure panic. One of the biggest black swan panic events in the history of the stock market. We did not get anywhere near the daily RSI that we are at today.
Oh, wow.
Nope. No, this is 2018. That's it. Today, June 5th, 2026, is the most Ethereum's ever been oversold in the history of Ethereum. Does that mean it's automatically 100% chance it's the bottom? You guys know the answer to that. The answer to that is no. It does not mean that. Is that an unbelievably strong indication that we are monumentally oversold and are likely somewhere near the bottom? I think this is the bottom today. Like I said, 13 on the daily RSI. Good luck. Good luck. And look, I want to show you what the other ones are doing, because, you know, I was looking at Bitcoin going, man, this can't go on, because look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's at under 16. Well, it's at 16.15 now. It got down. This line at 1585 was the lowest in history. At one point in the middle of the day, it was below this line. So again, the most oversold in history. These are epic, historic oversold levels on the one day. Now, again, that means, to me, the one thing that says is it's highly likely, and it's not a given, but it's highly likely there's going to be a short-term rally. But for those of you that think that there's a crypto winter left, this doesn't nullify a crypto winter, because you could have a short-term rally. You could get back up and maybe you hit resistance at 65,000, and then the RSI is all the way reset, and then bang, you go even lower. So this is a local bottom and all at 13, 14, 15 on the daily RSI. If this isn't a local bottom, I don't know what is. But that doesn't mean it's the ultimate bottom and it's the end of the crypto winter. So the argument still exists. Is it going to take until October? Are we going to have, a few mini rallies inside of, what has been, right? Sorry. Let me go to the 3-day. Show this a little more clearly.
If you do that, Tom, people don't like us today. Only 69 likes.
Oh, no, because I haven't said anything. Smash the like button if you guys would be so kind. It does help the channel out a lot. It's the only thing we ask of you, other than your insightful comments in the chat. So much appreciated. 150 we're going for. We're at 60, George. That counts for a double smash the like button request. So you can see we are in, and this has a lot of lines, but the trend is obvious, right? Since October, we have been down. Now, we had a big rally in November of 2025, all the way to January of 2026. That was a nice rally inside of this bear market. We had a big rally over the last couple of months. But now here we are, retesting lows. So, are we going to have another rally and then go lower or lower? I mean, that I can't answer. But what I can say is, you're going to have to look long and hard to find 13, 14, 15 on the daily RSI. And that that is one of the great indicators, simple, super simple indicators that we are at or near a local bottom. So I think we double tested. I think this is going to end up being our November 22, December 22 moment. This is a double bottom at 60,000. If I go back in time and way down on the charts here, I've got it in a square. This was our double bottom in November and December of 2022. This was the FTX situation. From that moment, from that double bottom, we had a multi-year bull market. So the question is that what's next? Or do we got 4 or 5 months left of bear market crypto winter? And we're going to hit a bunch of lower spaces.
There's something being announced on the 14th or the 15th of this month that is going to probably send crypto parabolic.
And I don't just think, well, do you know what that is? Or
Trump was talking about it, something to do with some type of wealth fund or something. I don't know. But Tom, I'm saying next week I think is the bottom. So we're not far apart.
So you feel like we got a week of this? I mean, we're all taking our best guess.
The reason I say it is because of that IPO.
So right. So
people are going to dump money into this right now, knowing that that's coming, you know?
There's a few gigantic IPOs coming, none bigger than next week's SpaceX, which is their valuation. They're going for, I think, a $1.77 trillion valuation. It's the biggest IPO in history from a valuation standpoint. It's also the biggest IPO in history from the amount of money that they're raising standpoint. But this is an important distinction. They're not raising $1.77 trillion. They're raising $75 billion. Now, yes, that is a massive amount of money. But this market is overreacting to, as a percent, what this market is coming down is dwarfing. Let's put it this way. We just saw Broadcom had the 4th worst day in history. They lost $280 million of market cap in one day, only for NVIDIA the very next day to beat them and lose $320 million of market cap in one day. Billion dollars. So that's a $500 million just in those two companies in 2 days. Did I say $500 million? $500 billion. Sorry, I'm getting my billions and these numbers have worked themselves up. That's a $500 billion lost out of two companies in 2 days. And it's actually more than that. It's almost $750 billion. All this IPO is doing is raising $75 billion. The market's acting like all liquidity from everywhere must be utilized in order to, account for this IPO. It's a typical overreaction. I have a Robinhood account. And there's all different kinds of ways to try to get in early on this IPO. I'm not interested, unless somebody wants to hand me the shares for free. I have no interest in this IPO. This investing in this IPO, we can do a poll on that. Are you investing in the IPO or do you want to? I think it's insanity. The valuation of $1.77 trillion out of the gates. This is a company with very little revenue. They lost, I think, $5 billion last year. Now, that said, they have unbelievable assets. I think it's going to be a multi-trillion-dollar company down the road. But they're raising $75 billion out of almost $2 trillion of value. The lockup period is staggered over most of it over the next 6 months. The amount of shares that are going to come on the market later are dramatically larger than the amount of shares that are going to come out onto the market on IPO day. Now, because they're staggering them, it should not whack the market at any one time, but my point is there's going to be plenty of opportunities to buy this stock. I stay away from IPOs on IPO day. If you can be one of the first ones in and then get the heck out, sometimes you can double your money on IPO day if you make the day trade out of it. But, to me, I have no interest in SpaceX yet. I do think it will be one of the big companies in the history of the world as time goes by. They have 3 different business segments, and I think they're set up to do great things. It's just not, this valuation is a little bit much, in my opinion.
Did you hear how they changed the rules?
Yeah, they're going to be added into the index in, I think, 15 days, right?
Yep.
So that's, theoretically, that's a catalyst.
And then they also changed it so that you could put your 401k money into it. I think after 24 hours.
So even with all of that, we'll see. I'm not interested. But what was funny to me is when I checked my Robinhood account, which is one of the easiest vehicles to get access to IPOs and to trade. So I do some of my trading on there. It's funny. I watch people rail on Robinhood. Let me know if you guys are on Robinhood or not. I have different accounts, but the bigger the financial institution, the more money they have under management. In my opinion, the worse their trading platform is, and the more restrictive they are on what you can buy and sell. My biggest accounts with the big financial firms, it's like every time I go to buy or sell something, I get like 5 warnings pop up. And it's like they don't want you trading. It's, Fidelity doesn't even want you trading Fidelity's Bitcoin ETF. Right? I don't like to. So what a lot of people don't realize, or some of you may realize, or a lot of you may realize, if you don't have a margin account, even if you're not using margin, if you don't have a margin account, then you have to do transactions on a cash basis. It can take several days for a transaction to clear, which means I can't buy something and then go sell something. I can't sell something and then go buy something else a minute later if it's a cash transaction. So all my accounts I have margin on, regardless of whether I use the margin. I use that aspect of it all the time. Well, Fidelity has a very long list, including their own Bitcoin ETF, that they will only transact in cash. They will not do on their margin. And so you got to wait 3 days. To me, that makes no sense. I can buy Fidelity's ETF on Robinhood, and I could sell it 2 minutes from now and buy something else. So they don't have that restriction. I'm rambling. My point is, I really hear a lot of YouTubers just trashing Robinhood, and I don't know if they're getting paid to sell some other platform or if they really just think, here's what a lot of people think. Oh, it's so basic. It's for amateurs. I totally disagree with that. It seems basic because they have an incredibly user-friendly interface. By the way, I'm not an affiliate. There is no link below. We don't get paid for this. I'm just giving you my opinion because I hear everybody trashing that, and to me, it's by far the most user-friendly one out there that I've ever used. So drop in the comments if you got something that in the chat, if you guys have a platform that you use that you think is better than that or that you like. Sour Melon Gaming says, stay away from SpaceX IPO. Yes. Let's talk jobs for a second. Hot jobs report puts Fed cuts further out of reach as Chair Warsh faces policy tests. So let's go through this. This is breaking my chops, but that's okay. The U.S. economy added 172,000 jobs in May, well above forecast of 85,000. And following an upwardly revised 179,000 gain in the previous month. Continuing to point to a resilient labor market, job gains occurred in leisure and hospitality, mainly food services and drink places, local governments, and healthcare, 7,000 in manufacturing. Meanwhile, in financial activities declined by 22,000, mostly insurance carriers and related activities and commercial banks. So this month's job report was double expectations, and they revised the last couple of job reports up, including, if I go to the 5-year, they revised May to 214,000. That is the first time we've broken 200,000 since December of 2024. So we had gone all of 2025 never adding 200,000 jobs, and so far all of 2026. And now with the revision, that's the best month in the last year and a half. Now you can see there were months in the 700,000, 800,000, 900,000. I would take all of these numbers with a grain of salt or sand or whatever it is you take with these numbers, because then at the end of the year, they take the whole thing and they say, oh, by the way, we were off by 1 million jobs. So I would always be careful about these job reports. The revisions can be and have been dramatic. The last few years, it was 800,000 a couple of years ago. I think it was close to or over 1 million last year. So take it for whatever it's worth. But what the market takes this for is, well, jobs are good. The Fed has a dual mandate. Keep employment healthy and keep inflation low. So the thought process is, well, employment's handled. Employment's great. Fed doesn't need to do anything to worry about employment. How do you keep inflation at bay? Raise interest rates. So that is the narrative. People are utterly convinced that we are going to raise interest rates. I will tell you, again, I'm on the other side of that. I think that is extremely unlikely. Kelshi does not think it's extremely unlikely. It is now, the betting odds are that we are raising interest rates in 2026. As of this jobs number, that put it over 50%, are betting that we will raise interest rates. So I disagree. I think there's a less than a remote chance of that happening, but the futures are pricing it in. The prediction markets are pricing it in. Shall we see what you guys think?
Well, at least I did a Polymart on it, and I already took my profit. It wouldn't have been a profit if I didn't do it.
See, that's the best part, though. You can get out of that, take your profit. It's just like trading a stock or an option.
Yeah.
And the best part is it's not gambling for some reason.
Well, I didn't gamble. I predicted.
That's right. Exactly. It's a prediction market.
I still think they're going to lower interest rate. I was listening to Trump on the plane ride over to Wisconsin, and he said, how many billions of dollars we would save if we could get a half a point lowered.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. That is the economics that we're going to come face to face with sooner than later, and we'll see. It's not worth debating. Time will tell.
What happens between now and the 17th of this month that could change the rates? Is there anything that could happen? Is there any reports that come out?
This was the biggest thing. They're going to do nothing at this next meeting. Or my name isn't Orville Redenbacher.
$100 pays you $14,000
if they lower rates
by 0.25. Yep.
Yeah, and I think there's north of a 99% chance that they do nothing at this meeting. It's his first meeting. Everyone's pounding the table to raise rates. That's just not going to happen. But
Slap those big balls on the table. Come on, boy.
I would say we're pretty safe that there's going to be no change. We're going to see what the talking points are, and we're going to see what the question and answer are, because this is the thing. We do have a new Fed chair. Jerome Powell's question and answer. Oftentimes, we would get the announcement on what the Fed did, and the market would be unchanged. Then Jerome Powell would talk, and the market would tank and tank and tank. We're going to see. We're going to get a new set of talking points. We think we know what they might be, but I'm not sure. I want to hear what. Go ahead.
How come if the job market's so hot, why is the real estate market so not?
Well, we're talking about part of it. Interest rates, it's twice as expensive to own the same house today as it was 5 years ago because of interest rates. Forget the price of the house. Forget the price of the house. Interest rates have every bit as much to do with how much a house costs as the price of the house. Right? If you can get a 2.75% mortgage, you can afford double the house that you can at a 6% mortgage. And that's what's killing the housing market. I shouldn't say killing it, but it's stalling it.
I mean, I'm sorry. I still think we need to just go down 0.25 just to see what it does. I don't even think it's going to do anything to inflation personally.
What it will do is it'll be the first step in what are many steps that need to come.
I think it's a great Christmas present for anniversary present for the 250th. We're going to lower rates. Congratulations, America.
Here's your rate cut, 50 basis points because it's a birthday.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a 10-second break, George, if that's all right.
Did you hear me? We're going to make it 2.5%. 2.5. That's the best. We're up to 80 likes. 85 likes, Tom. 85 likes. We got 15 to go. Tom's under the weather today, but he's toughing it out because he's a tough guy. Even though I told him what to take, he never does. I always take Airborne, if you guys know what that is when you get sick. I'm endorsing it. I don't get paid anything, but Airborne is the best thing to take when you get sick. Love that stuff.
I'm going to be drinking vitamin C after this.
What was it? And then what was it? Pop, pop, fizz, fizz. Oh, whatever.
That's not, I don't think that's for this though. Isn't that for like?
I know, but it does the same thing. Watch what happens to bonds if rates go down.
Look what's happening to bonds right now.
Yeah, I know.
It's a process. We're going to have to go through a process. We're in a bad place. We need to get to a better place.
What is the interest rate right now?
I mean, the Fed target rate is 3.75. 3.5 to 3.75.
We're going to do something amazing. 2.5. Absolutely amazing.
Going to be...
I don't even think that would cause inflation, Tom.
It wouldn't.
2.5. I don't think it would.
Here, let me get to one of my other charts and talk about this for a minute. I did not save the article because I'm not giving them the airtime. This is oil. Oil's at $90. Goldman Sachs yesterday put a price target on oil for 2026 of $150. This is the second time in a week I have a radically different opinion than Goldman Sachs.
Not gonna do it.
So I will tell you right now, I'm on the absolute opposite side. I think that is fear-mongering. On the worst day of this whole crisis, we never got anywhere near $150. Oil's been going down for weeks, right? This peaked April 7th. It's now 2 months later, and we went from $117 to $90. What on earth would lead somebody to believe that the next stop is $150? And I know what the standard arguments are, and all I'm going to say is just mark the time and mark the date, and I'm telling you, it's not happening. Barring some third thing that nobody knows about at all, oil's not going to $150. So, again, I have to say, that's not financial advice. I don't know the future, right? December 31st isn't here yet, so that's the day we're going to know the answer to this. But I think this is what I'm saying. Why did we have such a bad day? Why did we have such a bad week? Sour Melon Gaming gave the list. That's what everybody's focusing on. Oh, this is bad. That's bad. We're going to raise interest rates. Oil's going to be $150 a barrel. There's war. It's dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria. So, drop it in comments if you know what that's from. That's an easy one. So I think it's a lot of manipulation. I think we're being manipulated. I think Broadcom's earnings were fantastic. That's where we started our talk today. The market tanked because of Broadcom. They had the fourth worst market cap loss of any company in history on their best earnings report they've ever given as a company, only to be outdone by NVIDIA the next day, which lost even more market cap. Taking over that fourth place position, NVIDIA's already got the first place position and now has 7 of the 10 worst days from a market cap standpoint of any company in history. Only Broadcom yesterday, Apple once, and Microsoft once. They're the only other ones on the list. So
that's one big Twinkie. Goosebusters, Pogo.
Nicely done, Pogo. Nailed it. First shot. All right. Let me go to the drawing board here because there's a lot of stuff I didn't get to. Well, we can spend a second here. Not that there's really anybody left doing these or looking at them, but Cleanspark, and I would still expect, unless they change their mind, BitDR, later this month will put out their monthly operational report. Remember when every single Bitcoin mining company put this out every single month for 4 straight years? Well, they've all stopped, with the exception of Cleanspark and Cleanspark and BitDR, and a couple of other companies that I don't really talk about because their nature of their business is dramatically different, and I don't think it's apples to apples. Anyway, 671 Bitcoin produced 50 exahash, but actually they ran at 46.2 exahash. This 16.07 joules per terahash, that is their efficiency. It's among the best in the business. That number stayed identical because they have neither plugged or unplugged a machine in the last year. They got to 50 exahash and they stopped. Switched switched out CEOs, switched out philosophies. They're focusing on AI. But you can see they're not abandoning Bitcoin, and they're funding operations from their Bitcoin. They have 1.8 gigawatts of power under contract. So 2's that magic number I like to point at. Everybody ought to be at 2 by now. I would call 1.8 close enough. And they need to make some deals, which is why when you see, I'm going to go back to, here's IREN. They just added 800 megawatts of pipeline. And their stock got destroyed. Destroyed. This is the day they announced this, right here. They were up here, over 70, heading towards 75. And then for some reason, on that good news, the market decided it's time to wreck IREN. So to me, I think this is the biggest buy right now. My problem was I really wanted to buy some options today. The premium on these options for most of the companies on this list are astronomical, which tells me that the options market already knows this move is nonsense, and they're building IREN going back to 75. If you look at the premiums on the options. So I can't buy the options. I think it's going back to 75, but if that's already priced into the options and that's my break-even point, or 72 is my break-even point, it's not worth my money. Also, my cost basis on IREN is $6. I'm not buying it at $54. That probably is irrational because I do think it will double from, it hit $50 today. I think it'll double from there, but I'm not dollar cost averaging up from $6 at $50. So I got what I got. It's already the biggest position in my portfolio, and I think it's ridiculously under. What happened to CleanSpark makes no sense. If we look at CleanSpark, they recovered. Look how much they recovered today from the bottom. 10, almost 11% recovery intraday. This was foolishness. This stock is down. In a week, it was down 27%. It ended the week down just about 20%. So this was about to confirm a breakout. And I don't think this is a fake out. I think this is real. I think we're headed back up to higher numbers. My opinion, not financial advice. Obviously, with CleanSpark, you can see with their monthly operational reports, they are still trading in part as a Bitcoin miner. That's why they put this monthly operational report out. They still mine 671 Bitcoin a month. This is still a big part of their equation. I think behind closed doors, if they had it their way by the next halving, this would be zero and they'd be all AI. But they've never said that. They've said they're going to do both. We'll see what happens. Here, these are a few of my favorite things. This one always gets me. Keel Infrastructure. So this was June 4th, yesterday, and I have an update for it. Keel Infrastructure announces proposed offering of $350 million of convertible senior notes. They don't even give the terms. It's $350 million. If you look at Keel, it's now a $3.1 billion company. It was a $3.5 billion company until it went down 13.5% today. So this went down 13.5%. And in after hours yesterday, it was fluctuating between anywhere as good as down 7% to down 11%. If these notes one day get converted, remember, yesterday we didn't even know what the terms of these were. So this is about a 10% dilution if these one day get converted. But this is, and I'm going to spend a very short period of time because I've said this 100 times. This company's getting $350 million. That's what this transaction is. Their market cap. Remember, if you're diluting 10% and you're down 13%, your market cap is going down as a result of getting $350 million. So if they had $0 yesterday, which they didn't, they already have a lot of capital, and they have $350 million today. Are they worth more today or less today?
Oh, pick me.
George. They're worth more. Now, if you want to offset that and say it's a wash because they're getting $350 million, so they're worth an extra $350 million, but my individual share of stock is getting diluted equally, so it should be unchanged. But that's not what happens. Almost every single time a company announces this, their stock values this money, whether it's $350 million or $1 billion or $10 billion, the market values that money at zero. Now, anybody that owns Keel knows for a fact that their business is building out data centers. If they don't grow the data centers that they have under management, then they will fail. So we all know that's what they do. We all know it's going to take billions of dollars. We all know they're going to raise money. Yet, somehow we're shocked. We're stunned. Management's diluted us. And then this is my favorite one. Management waited until the stock hit a 4-year high and then they rug pulled us. No, they waited till the stock hit a 4-year high so they could give you maximum value on that. That's the exact.
Rug pull. I got to run, guys.
All right, George. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend.
You too. This stream goes by way too fast. I'll see you.
It really does.
See you.
Would you rather that they raise $350 million when their stock's trading at $1? Or would you rather that they raise $350 million when their stock is trading at a 4-year high? I think we'd all know the answer to that. As it turns out, the next day, one day later, we get some details. Number one, this was upsized to $400 million. So every time somebody in our industry does this, it gets upsized. The demand for these is massive. So are they all dumb? Okay, so this gets upsized to $400 million. It's a 1.25% convertible note due in 2023. And it's let me find the number. It's convertible at $7.41 a share. So you would think we just got some price discovery. $7.41 a share. That's what people are willing to pay. The stock tanked to at one point, it was like $4.70 today. There's no logic to this. The only options that I was able to buy today, and I would have liked to buy options on every single one of these companies, but most of the rest of them were priced out. I bought options on Keel that expire, they're short term. They expire in August. I think those are going to go up 200 or 300%. They were down 50% today. So I got them for half what I could have got them for yesterday. And this company just got $400 million. We all know, Ben's told anybody who will listen, they got 2 or 3 deals in the hopper. So what's the next most likely announcement that's going to come out after this? Boom, we got a contract. Stock pops. It's not rocket science. We've done this. Everybody in our group knows we've done this 20 times. So I don't know why I'm frustrated. It's actually a golden opportunity. It just mystifies me. But this is what the market does, and it convinces a lot of retail investors to follow along and panic and sell. And then the big money buys this stuff, and they make their money on it. Sarmel Gaming said, Tom, the IREN Australia PR really was a bit of a nothing where they didn't really do anything. That may be so, but here's what I can tell you. They have one of the biggest backlogs of power. They have one of the biggest, most active logs of power. They have multi-billion-dollar contracts with 2 of the 3 largest companies on the face of the earth, and their stock is tanking. So I can't say I'm a buyer because the options were too expensive, but I'm extremely bullish on where IREN's at right now versus where it's going to be. So we'll see what happens. Are you going into SpaceX next week? That's the current poll. 88% said no. I'll shut that down. That was an overwhelming no. Let's see what else I got on my list. All right, just a couple more quick things. I want to show you something that I feel like nobody was talking about. Just got to refresh. After and I don't remember if it was 13 days or 14 days in a row of a mass exodus from the ETFs. 2 things happened yesterday. Number 1, they were positive. Only $3 million. That's immaterial, but it beats hundreds of millions of dollars of outflow day after day after day for weeks. More importantly, BlackRock went from dumping Bitcoin. Look at these days. 342 million, 388 million, 440 million, 527.8 million. Second worst day in the history of their ETF. Yesterday, inflow of 47.7 million. I would pay attention to that. I think this outflow is over. I think this was there was a confluence of events occurring that pushed Bitcoin down to where everybody expected it to go, which was 60,000. And now most people expect it to go lower. So that's going to be the trick. Where's it going from here? Because 60,000 seemed pretty baked in by Tuesday or Wednesday of this week. It was nowhere near that, but it felt inevitable. But now, from a low of 59,000, we're at just under 62,000 a couple of hours later. So, are we going to bounce off of this? First thing is, are we going to close the daily candle? That seems almost a certainty at this point that we're going to close the daily candle above 60,000. We won't know until we get there, but we're very close to that time. And then can it hold over the weekend? So I don't know what the answer is. I will tell you, for those who have been watching, I have been saying I think 60 is the bottom. So that is my opinion. I also have to say the same thing I said last time. I'm certainly not going to be shocked if we take another leg down. There's a lot of people that believe there's 3 or 4 or 5 months left of pain. I'm not in that camp, but I could be proven wrong as early as Monday. So we'll see what happens. Is 60 going to hold or is 60 going to break? We're going to find out over the weekend. The weekly candle closes for the miners are bearish. This is from Wisdom Bites. They're going much lower. So we'll see what the answer to that is. If I go to CIFR, right, this was a company that, and I'll go to the 1 week because that's what Wisdom Bites is looking at. But on the 1 day, you can see they bounced off of 72 times. They've had a pretty big pullback. But if I go to the weekly, right, we're still, let me get rid of that mark. So we're at about 63 on the weekly RSI. You can see, even on the weekly RSI, these stocks, when they run, and these are hot stocks right now, when they run, this went from September 2nd all the way to November 3rd in overbought territory. And it ran up during that time. Right, it ran, if you go to the top of this, it ran up 428%. When it was already, it started in overbought territory, and ran up another 428%. And got up to 88 on the weekly RSI, which is incredible. CIFR was running like crazy, so it had this monumental run. It had a very long period of consolidation. And then it had this. This was a big run. Right? That's a 139% run. Big, right? So we're looking at a hammer candle at the bottom. That's usually not what you want to end the week on. But we'll see what happens. It's one candle. I don't know. I think that we're going to get this IPO out of the way next week. It looks like the rampage of ETF exodus could be slowing down, if not over. And, all of these AI stocks, and the bottom line is these are now AI stocks every bit as much as the chip companies are. So they were all running like crazy, and they all got whacked the last couple of days. So we're going to find out, is that a trend? Do we now need, days or weeks to reset everything before the next leg up? Or is it going to happen faster than that? So either of those, you got to decide for yourself as to whether or not it's a good time to buy. And Malik is asking, why is Mara still in the mud? And particularly versus BitDR, I would say I don't have a good answer for that. So I think Mara is another one that is very oversold. And, from the chart, we'll just look at it real quick. Let's go to the 1 day. They're now at 44 on the daily RSI. They've had a pullback. They were finally starting to run, but they're so far behind everybody else. That's a 100% run up from March to the end of May. Actually, from basically April and May. They doubled. But now they're pulling back from that. And, again, they did get to overbought at 70. I don't think these companies, when they're hot, they will not top out at 70 like they have been. I think you're going to see 80s and 85s like we did in some of the other ones. I still think Marathon, the market, I think, is saying you got to show me a deal, show me something. And ultimately, we may have to wait for that. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. I've done as much as I can. I was not feeling well today, but I was glad to do this. And thank you guys so much for joining me. You can smash the like button on the way out as well, if you'd be so kind. It does help the channel. Everybody have a fantastic weekend. And go Bitcoin.